Russia has launched its second massive wave of strikes in just 48 hours, as the conflict intensifies and fresh attacks target multiple areas across Ukraine. Kiev has come under another deadly missile barrage, with explosions and fires reported across the city as Russia unleashes a renewed assault. As Donald Trump reportedly hesitates on moving forward with the Patriot missile plan, Russia has launched fresh strikes on Kiev, adding another layer to the rapidly evolving battlefield. Zircon and Iskander missiles have reportedly rained down on Ukrainian targets, putting Ukraine's air defenses under mounting strain as the latest wave of attacks unfolds. Russia launched its second major missile attack on Ukraine in just 48 hours, marking another significant escalation in the ongoing conflict and intensifying pressure on the country's air defenses. Multiple ballistic missiles struck Kyiv during the early hours of August 1st, triggering air raid alerts and sending residents rushing to shelters across the Ukrainian capital. At least 9 people were killed and 23 others were injured in the overnight attack, according to Ukrainian officials, as emergency teams continued search and rescue operations. Fires and extensive damage were reported across at least 5 districts of Ukraine's capital, with residential buildings and civilian infrastructure among the affected sites. Kyiv's Darnitsky district suffered the highest casualties, with 7 people reported killed as the missile strikes caused widespread destruction in the area. 14 people, including 2 children, were injured in the Darnitsky district, where emergency responders treated the wounded and searched damaged buildings for survivors. The attack came after Ukraine's Air Force warned that multiple ballistic missiles were heading toward Kyiv, urging residents to remain in shelters as the threat unfolded. Explosions rocked the capital in several waves throughout the night, as successive missile strikes shook different parts of the city over a prolonged period. Russian missiles struck apartment buildings, warehouses, a car wash, and a parking area, causing significant destruction to both residential and commercial properties. Several buildings partially collapsed during the attack, trapping residents beneath debris and prompting urgent rescue efforts by emergency services. Firefighters and emergency crews were deployed to multiple impact sites across Kyiv, working to extinguish fires, rescue survivors, and assess the extent of the damage. Fires were reported in the Darnitsky, Shevchenkivsky, Solomyansky, and Holosivsky districts, as authorities responded to multiple emergencies across different parts of the capital. The latest strike followed another massive Russian missile barrage just 2 days earlier on July 30th, underscoring the sustained pace of attacks targeting Ukraine's capital. A mass Russian aerial attack on Ukraine overnight on July 30th killed at least 8 civilians and injured more than 50 others as missiles and drones struck multiple regions. Air raid alerts were issued in eastern Poland after a Russian missile crossed into Polish airspace and fell into a field in Lublin Voivodeship, prompting NATO to condemn the strike as reckless. Damage and casualties were reported in cities across Ukraine, including Kiev and Lviv, where residential buildings, schools, and other civilian infrastructure were hit. In one of the attacks, a Russian ballistic missile destroyed a U.S. firm's Kyiv drone factory, wiping out a key site in Ukraine's unmanned systems production. The strike on the terminal autonomy plant appeared to be the first time in the war that Moscow has directly targeted a U.S.-registered company inside Ukraine. The U.S.-owned drone factory in Kyiv was destroyed by a Russian ballistic missile, leaving the facility in ruins but causing no deaths at the site. Terminal Autonomy makes precision deep strike drones with systems designed to resist Russian jamming signals, including the AQ-400 Scythe and AQ-100 bayonet models. According to The Guardian and other reports, both AQ-400 Scythe and AQ-100 bayonet drones are part of the plant's product line, giving Ukraine long-range strike options that challenge Russia's air defenses. A former U.S. intelligence officer said Russians don't care who owns the manufacturing facility, viewing any plant that supports Ukraine's war effort as a legitimate target regardless of its corporate home. Notably, nobody was killed in the Russian attack on the drone factory, with sources familiar with the company confirming the building was empty when the missile hit.
Today, in various cities and regions across our country, rescue operations continued all day following the Russian strike. In Lviv, crews were clearing debris and searching for people. In the Dnipropetrovsk region, in Radusha near Kryvyi Rh, a ballistic missile struck a house directly, an ordinary home belonging to an ordinary family. The children were killed, along with their parents. My condolences go out to everyone who lost family members and loved ones today. In Radusha, the Russians used a North Korean missile for the first time in a long while, according to preliminary data. Of course, there will be further investigations, and everything will be verified, but as of now, this is a North Korean ballistic missile. The alliance of Moscow's lowlifes with the insane regime in North Korea, for the sake of missiles, for the sake of the North Korean contingent here in Europe, on our borders, for the sake of killing our Ukrainian children. Of course, many people around the world have condemned this attack today. There has been a great deal of sympathy over the loss of life. European countries have made numerous statements, particularly regarding the Russian missile that flew into Polish territory and exploded somewhere in a field near Lublin. Most importantly, however, it's not just about condolences or condemnation. It's about providing air defense missiles, the very kind of pressure on Russia that can stop this senseless Russian war, all their attacks, and their terror. This war could have ended long ago, but Putin doesn't want that. One moment he's looking for weapons in North Korea, the next in Iran, and then he's coming up with something else. Anything to keep fighting, to keep killing. For the first time now, it is only the unity we have achieved, our maximum unity with the world, that matters. Our cooperation, our ability to protect lives during this 5th year of full-scale war, is key. Missiles for air defense first and foremost for the Patriots, but also for the NASAMS, the Irises, the Hawks, and our other systems. This is a top priority. I very much hope that all our partners, above all our American partners and our friends in Europe, will realize that real human lives depend on whether they help us, whether they help Ukraine.
Russia conducted strikes on a food business in the Ukrainian city of Pavlograd, hitting a food processing enterprise and sparking a fire at the facility. 3 people were killed and at least 10 people were injured in the attack, according to regional officials cited by Reuters and other outlets. The attack was caught on camera, with footage circulating that shows the moment of the explosion as the guided aerial bomb hits the site. Ukraine witnessed widespread damage from Russian strikes, just as US President Donald Trump backtracked on his earlier promise to let Kiev manufacture Patriot interceptor missiles. Trump said he was not sure the US would allow Ukraine to manufacture Patriot missiles, telling the Financial Times that Washington was still considering whether to grant full production rights. Patriot systems are widely reported as effective in intercepting Russian ballistic missile attacks, forming a key part of Ukraine's last-line defense against high-speed ballistic and aeroballistic threat.